Clients, partners and colleagues would probably describe me as an open-minded, culturally diverse and positive-spirited individual. I approach every change and transformation with a naturally curious mindset. It may stem from my cultural background. I grew up in Hamburg as one of 2 children to a Japanese mom and a German dad. There's a concept in Zen Buddhism called the beginner's mind. So I approach every situation, every problem and every person as if I see him or her the first time. Academically, I learned to apply 3 different lenses when looking at the world around me. My first lens is the effectiveness and efficiency lens of a process engineer, having studied production engineering in Hamburg. My second lens is the one of a strategy and execution leader, based on my learnings from the Masters in Business Administration in Singapore and in Switzerland. The last and third most important lens, I would say, is the lens of creativity and system psychodynamics. I studied the Executive Masters in Change program at INSEAD in France and learned to work with leaders and with organizations in transformations and helping them to navigate the manifold conscious and unconscious dynamics that we face in organizations, tackling the manifold transformations they go through. As the mother of 2 boys who are adults today, I learned to juggle the many parallel priorities we have between work, family and self. After some years working as business consultant and project manager, my international leadership career started taking off. I was 30 years then, and it was also the same time that my 2 sons were born. I think many parents share my experience of having to juggle the parallel priorities of a leadership career and of being a parent. As a parent, we suddenly realize how crowded life can become. And depending on our cultural background and the place we live, it is very often more on the shoulders of a female professional to juggle the vast majority of responsibilities that we have. I think I learned a great deal about my own boundaries during that time, both at work and in private. I think my capacity to love and to give, both in the role as mother as well as in the role as a leader, expanded tremendously during that time. Besides, I have always embraced culturally diverse environments. I have lived and worked in Germany, in the United States, in Singapore and in Switzerland. I'm very lucky. Switzerland is a great and vibrant business center, acknowledged internationally, and it is also a great place for entrepreneurs to launch new businesses and work on new ideas. What problems did I observe while still in corporate leadership? I have observed 3 problems, and I have looked at them while still in the system, working as a corporate leader, but also from an academic, very reflective standpoint when going through my Executive Master in Change program with INSEAD. These 3 problems are the lack of self-awareness, the lack of a safe space, and the lack of creative capacity. Lack of self-awareness. As leaders, how do we show up at work? And how does our behavior impact the organizational culture? In today's fast-paced, transformative organizations, taking a reflective stance and looking at self becomes a rarity. Subsequently, I have observed many leaders who have become less and less aware about their behaviors and how it jeopardizes the effectiveness and sustainability of their leadership performance. In my role as executive and group coach, I accompany my clients during personal and organizational transformations. During the past months, I have accompanied about 200 C-suite leaders in exploring self and increasing self-awareness. I'm accredited by the European Mentoring and Coaching Council as professional coach, and to explore the data, and depending on the client situation, I use self-assessment, for example the DISC profile, or a 360-degree survey, specifically the Global Executive Leadership Mirror developed by the INSEAD Global Leadership Center. to mine the data that we are looking at. Increasing self-awareness may surface new ideas and fresh material to approach transformations and the anxieties and ambiguities that come with it more effectively. Another problem that I work with my clients is the lack of safe space. In exchanging with C-suites and executives, they tell me that the more they move up the career ladder, the less and less space there is to engage in open dialogue as the role becomes more and more political. I worked in corporate leadership myself for many years, specifically in the financial services industry. And I share this experience that the more responsibility we have, the more political the work becomes. In our roles as leaders, this may lead to isolation. And instead of working in open dialogue cultures, which we embrace, the more we are surrounded by people that tell us what we want to hear. How can we address this problem? By creating a safe space that allows a dialogue that is not only based on facts, but also on sharing reflections and associations freely, allows us to emerge new data that is based on our own and the collective creativity. There's a further advantage of engaging in this creativity-based dialogue. It prevents us from jumping to conclusions too quickly and is a more effective vehicle of communication to talk about the anxieties and ambiguities that come alongside change and transformation. This process, by the way, works very well in a dialogue situation in coaching, as well as in consulting in change for organizations. A further challenge that leadership and organizations face is the diminishing capacity and time to engage in creative activity. And creativity for me in that sense is engaging with your right brain hemisphere, which holds the timeless, the human, the emotional information that we have. Working with the right brain hemisphere may give you the key to access not only the conscious, factual information that we carry with us, but also the unconscious information. As an example, many organizations engage in an all-employee survey once a year. These surveys are very costly and they mainly bring up quantitative results. The qualitative results are famous for usually only scratching the surface of what is really going on in organizations. While the surveys are usually conducted anonymously, when management teams try to dig down into the deeper levels of what was said qualitatively, we see teams, organizations, or even worse, individuals being tagged to what was said or even blamed for it. Creating a safe space that allows to disconnect what is being said and also that allows to go deeper on an emotional level gives the potential of really exploring what's going on in organizations. So what are the chances of giving more space to a creativity-based dialogue? Too many change and transformations fail in organizations because we underestimate the system's complexity, the human dynamics, and the organizational culture aspects at play. Many of us operate on the assumption that we work only based on the conscious know-how. However, we can basically imagine that as an iceberg, whereby the conscious know-how is only a tiny fraction of what allows us to function in a complex world. I was exploring this deeply during my 12 months master thesis journey while studying at INSEAD. I talked to 20 senior executives from the Swiss financial services industry and engaged with them in an creativity-based development to access the unconscious dynamics of organizations. How did we do that? In the first step, we had a so-called socioanalytic interview where you allow plenty of space and time for reflections and associations. Second, I collected drawings from each individual, where they basically reflected on how they see themselves, the financial services, and the transformation happenings in them. And thirdly, we had a dialogue, so a group discussion, to make sense of that. With that intervention, we were therefore able to surface unconscious human dynamics that usually work against the effectiveness of transformations, as well as explored how we could potentially deal with them more effectively. I call this intervention Sōzō-sei no Tenkai. The past years, more than ever, have shown that traditional organizational consultation alone fails to lead to lasting and sustainable change. Supplementing it with creativity-based system psychodynamic ways of looking at organizational change may open new pathways and opportunities to be more effective in transformations. You will ask me now, what does Sōzō-sei no Tenkai mean? I shared earlier that I'm of mixed cultural heritage. Sōzō-sei and Tenkai are the Japanese words for creativity and development. I called my intervention Sōzō-sei no Tenkai to symbolize the intercultural diversity, the freshness, and the interplay between the different disciplines that I consulted, like neuroscience, like system psychodynamics. Sōzō-sei no Tenkai, creativity-based development, allows to explore difficult themes with a certain lightness and always with a look towards the future. So where's my journey going from here? My master thesis with INSEAD allowed me to explore different disciplines: neuroscience, system psychodynamics, and drawing. Each of these disciplines gives huge opportunities to dig further and explore more. The difficult transformations that we face in different sectors today, financial services only as an example, call for new ways of complementing the traditional way how we conduct organizational consultation. I look really much forward to contributing to that with my research and work with organizations.